Yeah, I know. Sure. I think there are many projects in a sequence, how the evolution takes place. I spent almost 12 years with Corbusier and 12 years with Kahn. And not only working with them in design, but executing and seeing their buildings. And they became my parents almost. Kahn has been one of the yogis in India, his talk, his conversations. So when I gave an interview of Kahn and Corbusier together years ago, I mentioned about this. I said, here is one acrobat, the Corbusier, who plays the game, he plays and he's on the tightrope, always in the danger. And here is a yogi who is very quiet and steady and peaceful and searching the spirit, searching the unknown. Both are equally important and very significant. When I went to Corbusier, I was 24, 23, non-graduate, not knowing French, and not having completed architectural school, and everybody was graduate. So Corbusier opened for me the senses of life. You work with your emotions, you work with your inner consciousness. And then I meet Kahn, and then I know about his logic and his rationalism and his structural system and his belief of purity. And it was a strange meeting. I had received this Graham Foundation fellowship. Myself and my wife went to New York. It was Leo Leone who was art director, Fortune. And that is his son, Louis Leone. He said, let's go and meet Kahn, Philadelphia. He says, he's doing the Richard Medical Center building. And it's a fantastic building. We must go and see. So I went with him and saw this building, and I was absolutely bowled over. Because I remembered San Gimignano. And I remember those towers, and here I see those towers with glass columns, the shafts, and the glass windows. And I was so impressed because it was so pertinent and meaningful for the time and even today. So I said, I want to meet Louis Kahn. He says, let's go to his office. So when we went to his office, he said, the secretary, that no, Kahn is now in the studio, and I don't know whether he will see you. So I said, can you tell him that my name is Doshi and I work with Corbusier. It was my passport. And immediately Lou came out and he says, we shook hands. And he started talking, and then he showed the models of the Salk Institute and other buildings that he was doing. And here I see for the first time an American office, precise, beautifully made models, and also plasticine models. We started talking a lot about Corbusier and other things. And then when I had the chance here to do the IIM in Ahmedabad, my clients wanted to get somebody else also to do work, because they said, we have 4 buildings of Corbusier. And Vikram Sarabhai was a scientist and a visionary. He had collaborated with Harvard to do the Management Institute academically. And he was a good friend of mine, and also the Kasturbai Lalbhai, who had invited Corbusier here, the mentor. They said, why don't you find somebody? And against 2 people that they recommended, I said, I would prefer to get hold of Louis Kahn. I think after Frank Lloyd Wright, it is the only person whom I admire. And I think if he comes here, it will change the history of India. And I think it's a great lesson for architects in India. And it will be a monument for us. People all the time talk about the IIM Ahmedabad because it has the qualities of the tradition and modernity. It has the tradition of working in local materials, but in a different way. It's Mughal and Indian. It talks about climate, it talks about culture, it talks about ventilation, and also there is serenity, rhythm, shadows, and a wonderful play of spaces. And it stands, as if it's like those Mughal market monuments. So when he was doing those drawings, and he made those buttresses and arches, I had gone to Mandu. Mandu is a Mughal place, And I took some photograph there, and there is a building called Jahaj Mahal. The Jahaj Mahal place has arch and a buttress, and the facade is blank. I said, Lou, have you seen this? He says, my God, you know how close it is. That time I wrote that there is always an antenna in these people. The most sensitive people have an antenna and they sense the pulse of the place. But for me, it's two gurus and a disciple trying to find via media and find his own identity. And from day onward, when I came back from Corbusier's office, I said, I am an Indian and I must someday find my identity. So I would think that my life still owes to these two people, both equally. And very often I remember Lou and Kahn as if they were together. And I learned from Corbusier because his building is completely open. Sometimes half the things are not functional, but there's a lot of air. You feel free. In Kahn's building, there are areas where you feel the shadows. You can feel where people can go. This is a protection of one kind. Other one is a liberation.